Then we have our first challenge. Now you have an overview of the process. The first challenge is get focused. Because if you are an expert on 10 subjects, the chances are you will never get started. Because you'll be debating. Now, as you heard Darren, and Darren's presentation was a great setup for this one. Because you have to focus, and you might be able to speak on 10 subjects, but just pick one, and pick the one that you are most enthusiastic and passionate about. And then, once you've perfected the process, you can certainly repeat it. As I told you, last December, I got serious about this, and my brother was coming to visit me in San Francisco. And I belonged to a club called the Golden Gate Breakfast Club. It was the first group I ever spoke to in 1977. And then I became their first woman member in 2000. And I said to the program chair, Harvey, my brother's going to come. I want a really good program, even if I have to do it myself. And he said, you're on. So I mentioned to brother, how would you like to give a speech at the Men's Breakfast Club? And he said, sister, I am on vacation. I don't want to give a speech. I don't want to spend that much energy. I just want to come and have fun. And I said, well, brother, if I gave a speech, do you think you might say a few words? And he said, well, I suppose I could tell him the Hendrix story. And I said, well, perhaps you want to tell them about when David Bowie sent you your first-class airline ticket? And he said, oh, yes, I could do that. And I said, well, I was thinking about perhaps talking about parents a little and our grandfather. And he said, oh, well, I could say a few words about Grandkey Joe. And I said, I thought I might show them a clip that we recorded of Uncle Bill talking about when he was in Stalag 3 at the same time of The Great Escape. And he said, oh, yes, well, I talked to Uncle Bill. I could say a few words about that. So what we did was develop a speech called Everything Begins with a Love Story. And guess who was the star presenter? My brother. Now, gentlemen, this is a bonus, no extra charge to you. You have just learned how women manipulate you. No charge. No charge. And my brother, after this process, said something that I thought you deserved to hear. He said, for every point you make in your speech, the chances are there's a family member who has already experienced it. Now, I would not have articulated it that way, but it's really true. Because when my brother and I were growing up as sweet, adorable little children in England, we never got tired of hearing the story about how our parents met and fell in love. And usually that is one of my first questions when I meet couples. How did you meet and fall in love? I love stories. Love stories. And my mother was a coal miner's daughter. She was born in South Wales, very near to where Tom Jones lives. And she and her sister lived in Green Lane. My grandfather's 6 brothers, they all built a whole terrace of houses where they lived. And my grandfather, Grandkey Joe, was very close to my mother because he was Wales's champion pigeon racer. And he would get up well before dawn and get his pigeons to fly in the dark. And my mother used to get up and get him breakfast. Because it is very obvious, if your pigeons can fly in the dark, whenever a race starts, they get a head start. Isn't that a good lesson? Now, my mother realized at age 18 that she had to leave home because there was nothing for her except to marry a coal miner if she stayed in Wales. So she went to the south of England.